You're probably standing in the garage or the shop, staring at that empty R134A can and wondering if you should spend a few $100s on a recovery undercharge unit or just keep buying pre-filled cans. The fear of throwing money at a machine that sits on a shelf half the time is real, especially when you've heard stories about tools that promise professional-grade performance, but end up being more trouble than they're worth. I get that hesitation, and I've spent the last couple of weeks digging through spec sheets, forum threads, and the handful of buyer comments that actually exist for the Robinair 34288NI economy unit, so I can tell you whether it makes sense for you. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, let's talk about what this little box actually does. It's designed to pull refrigerant out of a system, store it, and then let you put it right back in, all while keeping the oil and any moisture out of the loop. That sounds like a straightforward recover, recycle, recharge job, but the devil is in the details of how it handles the flow, the accuracy of the meter, and the safety features that keep your compressor from sucking in air. The 34288NI claims to meet and exceed SAE J2788 standards, which is the benchmark most automotive techs use to certify that a recovery machine won't leak refrigerant back into the atmosphere. In practice, that means if you follow the instructions, you should be able to pull a full 4-pound cylinder, store it, and then charge another vehicle without worrying about a hidden leak. Who should actually consider buying this thing? If you're a DIY enthusiast who routinely services AC systems on your own car, a small neighborhood fleet, or a hobbyist who likes to keep a classic car's climate control in tip-top shape, the 34288NI hits a sweet spot. It's not a heavy-duty unit you'd find in a big commercial garage, but for the average user who does a handful of recoveries a month, the economy label is more about price than about cutting corners. The programmable vacuum function, which defaults to a 15-minute cycle, is handy when you're pulling a system that's been sitting idle for a while and has built up moisture. You set the timer, press start, and the machine does the rest. No need to constantly watch a gauge. On the flip side, if you're running a full-service auto shop that pulls dozens of refrigerant loads a day, you'll probably feel the limits sooner rather than later. The unit's recovery rate tops out at a modest flow, meaning you'll spend more time on each vehicle compared to a higher capacity, pricier model. Also, the automatic oil drain and automatic air purge are great for preventing contamination, but they rely on the internal sensors staying calibrated. In environments where you're dealing with extreme temperatures or frequent power fluctuations, you might find yourself resetting the system more often than you'd like. That's not a deal breaker, but it's something to be aware of before you commit. Let's walk through a real-world scenario. Imagine you've just finished swapping out the compressor on a 2015 sedan. The old system still holds about 3 pounds of R134A, and you've got a fresh can on hand for the refill. Without a recovery machine, you'd vent the remaining refrigerant, illegal and wasteful, or you'd have to buy a separate can just for the leftover, which is pricey. With the Robinair 34288NI, you hook the suction hose to the low-side service port, let the machine run its vacuum cycle, and watch the digital display show the exact amount it's pulling out. When it hits the target, the unit automatically switches to the storage mode, draining oil into a separate chamber so you don't end up with sludgy refrigerant later. The next day you connect the discharge hose, set the desired charge level on the screen, and the unit adds precisely the right amount, all while purging air. For someone who wants to stay within EPA regulations without investing in a massive recovery setup, that workflow is a solid win. Now, you might be wondering about the value beyond the headline specs. The real savings comes from the fact that you stop buying single-use cans for every job. A typical 4-pound can cost around $30, $35, and if you service 3 vehicles a month, that's over $100 a quarter just on refrigerant. The 34288NI storage tank holds enough for roughly 2 full cans, which means you can recover, store, and reuse the same refrigerant across multiple jobs. Add in the fact that you avoid fines for venting, and the break-even point is reached sooner than most people expect. The machine's display is also intuitive. It doesn't throw a wall of numbers at you, just the current pressure, temperature, and amount recovered, which reduces the learning curve for newcomers. What about the downsides you'll actually notice once the box is in your toolbox? The biggest gripe from owners is the noise level. It's not a quiet operation. The compressor hums louder than a standard air conditioner, so if